What's going on, guys? Welcome back to BlackTideTV. In today's video, the much anticipated third episode of Infinite Warfare Epic Variant Reviews. Epic Variant Reviews becoming one of the most popular series on this channel so far, despite there only being 2 videos. The 2 videos that we have done are the KBAR 32 Invective Epic Variant Review and the EMC Avalanche Epic Variant Review. Both of those will be linked in the card in the top right corner, and they'll be linked as a playlist in the description down below. In today's video, we're taking a look at the BANSHEE Siren. Now, what is this series all about? We're all about telling you guys what the best variants in the game are, what variants you should be looking out for in supply drops, what variants you should actually be going out of your way to spend 4,000 salvage for. We're talking about the epic trait on each of them, the common trait on each of them, the camos, the new optics, because a lot of these variants actually change up the optics, including the one that we're looking at today. Now, hopefully I will be able to get my hands on every single epic variant throughout this game. It's going to be tough. There are going to be a lot, and I do believe they're going to be adding more variants throughout the game. But between my account, Remman's account, as you're seeing in this gameplay, and some others maybe, because who knows if the 2 of us will be able to get all of the epic variants alone. So between a couple accounts, we're going to try and get them all for you guys and cover them all, starting with the BANSHEE Siren in today's video. Allow me to throw the variant card up on screen so you can follow along while we discuss the traits of this weapon. So the first trait, the epic trait on the BANSHEE Siren, is Shockwave, which is a pretty interesting trait when you think about it. When you look at it and you go, oh, that's different. It's very unique. You don't see this trait on any other. Of course, all of the epic traits are unique, but this is extremely unique. It's not just like extra damage when you do this. It's damage causes slight hearing loss, and that sounded super interesting to Remman and I when we first saw this. This was one of the variants that we were just ready to unlock this thing. We were excited. We're like, this is going to be a really cool trait. It's going to be the best. Not the case, but we'll get into that in just a second. The common trait that we have on this thing is Sharpshooter, which is increased damage range, and it stacks with Particle Amp, or Speaker Amp, sorry. Speaker Amp being a unique attachment for the Banshee, because the Banshee isn't a ballistic weapon. It's not an energy weapon. It's like a sonic shotgun. It's not really one or the other, but you get special attachments for it. Speaker Amp is essentially rifled barrel for this weapon, so it's the range extending attachment. So Sharpshooter is increasing your damage over range, but is it really? We did some hand testing, and Sharpshooter doesn't seem to work on this weapon. I don't think it works on a lot of the shotguns, because the shotguns have sort of a different way that they inflict damage, with the different pellets doing certain amounts of damage. And from the hand testing that we did with this thing, we couldn't actually find a range at which you're going to get one less shot to kill with this shotgun with Sharpshooter equipped. So really, does Sharpshooter do anything? Not that we could find. Not to say it won't take 1 or 2 less pellets to kill, but in the grander scheme of things, it's really not that beneficial to you, and you can live without it. Especially when you only have say you have the base variant, you put Speaker Amp on it, it's completely fine. Now, of course, if you do get this weapon in a supply drop, and for whatever reason you don't have any other better variants of this weapon, this trait will help you out a tiny little smidgen of a bit. But for the most part, you're not going to want to put this on just for that Sharpshooter trait, because it's not worth it. It's not that beneficial. Now let's talk about the epic trait, Shockwave. Damage causes slight hearing loss, but does it really? We did some testing with the Shockwave trait, and honestly, the hearing loss is so slight and so temporary that you will barely even notice it. We tried this out. I would show you gameplay footage of the testing, but honestly, it wouldn't even be worth it. You wouldn't be able to hear it in the gameplay behind my audio, behind my commentary. Even if I didn't do commentary, you likely wouldn't be able to hear the quote-unquote hearing loss that this weapon affects on people, because it's so minor. It's ridiculous. It's completely useless. It doesn't do anything. Trust me here. We tried. Okay, I'll give you the basics of how we did the testing. So we stood just beyond 1-shot kill range, to the point where if you took 1 step forward, you would instantly kill the enemy. So we're thinking that the closer you are, the more hearing loss you're going to affect, right? The more hearing loss you're going to put on the enemy. Makes sense. So we're 1 step outside the 1-shot kill range, and what we did was we shot the person in the back, and then we ran past them to try and see if they could still hear footsteps, right? Yeah, you can still hear footsteps. You can also still hear gunfire, explosives, you can still hear basically everything. Enemy player callouts, you can hear the announcer telling you what's going on, if they're capturing flags or whatever. You can hear absolutely everything just fine while you're undergoing this hearing loss. All the hearing loss is an ambient ringing in your ears. Basically, if you kind of think of the game audio in different layers. You've got your very prominent layers like gunfire and things like that, your footsteps that you can hear right up front. They're like almost right inside your ears. You can hear that at all times. Even if you're using a speaker or a soundbar or something like that, you can hear that stuff very, very loud. It's like you're hearing it, that it's right next to your ear. That's where the sound is happening. Then you've got your outer layers like the game music. So 30 seconds, I think it's 30 seconds to the end of the game, they play game music to get you all pumped, like, oh, we're gonna win, and they play the ooh, we're gonna win music. That's where this sound kind of comes in. It comes in at that very, very outer layer of your hearing in the game. It's just this ambient ringing. Like in real life, when you hear something very loud and your ears start ringing, say you've been to a concert all night and you leave the concert, you go to the open street, and it's very quiet out there. You hear that ringing in your ears. That's the noise that you get from hearing loss with this weapon, but it's so faint and it's so far in the background that it doesn't cover anything. It doesn't cover your footsteps. You can still hear footsteps clean as day. You can still hear gunfire. You can still hear all the sounds that you would want it to block out. You can still hear them clean as day. So it's essentially not doing anything. It really doesn't do anything. It's not worth it. I think that they were too scared of making the ringing too loud, because a lot of players use headsets, and if they made the ringing too loud and then people started spamming the shotgun, you would likely hurt people's ears in real life, and I don't think they wanted to do that. I think they were scared of doing that, so they toned it down, but they toned it down too much. Now, this Banshee definitely deserves a buff, as it's one of the worst epic variants that I've seen so far. Now, on top of all of the other changes that this weapon has over the base variant, it also gets a new iron sight. So the base variant has a square iron sight, whereas the epic siren has a circular, darker orange version of that same sight. Just something worth mentioning there at the end of the video. But do not spend 4,000 salvage on this weapon, guys. If you do happen to get it in a supply drop, you can put it on over your base variant, but honestly, if you have any other variant over the base variant, just use that instead. I assure you they will be better no matter what the traits are on them. But that is it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe for more daily gaming goodness, and comment down below what you think about the Banshee Siren. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys on the next one.